So it's AI, robotics, and Buddhism. Now, the screen that you see right now is the quick summary of my presentation today. I define robotic AI as a computation technology that develops human-like system equipped with AI programs. Secondly, robotic AI is actively used in Mahayana Buddhism in East Asia, China, Japan, and Korea, and other East Asian countries. Three, there are two reasons why this is peculiar among other religions in Buddhism, that they use AI more than other religions. There are two reasons: Buddhist notions of mind and Buddhist notions of sentient being, sattva, and Buddha nature can include artificial system and robotic systems as a form of mind, which is different from human mind, but it has the very inclusive understanding of mind and agent. So perhaps that's the reason that Buddhism accommodates AI more than other religions. Number four, however, there's some concerns about AI, specifically machine learning and deep learning. And from that perspective, there could be possible tension that the Buddhism may not see as AI as a good, in current context, not the general AI, but specific learning processes that can raise some issues in Buddhism. So that's the general quick capture of my talk today. Okay, so I'm going to generally read through my paper, and I'm going to move through my slides at the same time. In this paper, I will discuss how AI interacts with religion and spirituality, and how AI is perceived by and used in religion. The interaction between AI, robotics, and religion is subtle and nuanced, with philosophical and implicit assumptions about the function and use of mechanical system in the practice of religion. I'll focus on robotic AI, a humanoid robot equipped with AI programs, to ask whether robotic AI can be used in religion and how it affects or affected by religion. Since AI systems are developed to match human cognitive abilities, they intrinsically and philosophically challenge the fundamental distinction between human spirituality and physical mechanism held by many religions. Does AI marginalize religion, or does a religion reject AI? How do they coexist or support each other? To answer this question, I will discuss how robotic AI is introduced and used in East Asian Buddhism. It's called Mahayana Buddhism, practiced in China, South Korea, and Japan. And specifically, I will discuss how robotic AI is actually used in the context of religious practice. Now, there are different ways of using AI and robotics in religion. And there are basically four different examples and four different types. Robotic AI is introduced, used, and discussed in the four different ways in East Asian Buddhism. First, robots are used as a medium of communication. In Longchan Temple, located in Beijing, China, for example, Shan welcomes visitors and answers their questions. Shan is a robotic monk equipped with an AI chatbot system that can converse with humans. Shan also helps visitors to understand Buddhism by reciting Buddhist texts. So that is going to be the first example. Second, Pepper, developed by SoftBank of Japan, is a Buddhist monk who can preside and conduct Buddhist funerals. It is a robotic AI expert system specializing in holding Buddhist funerals. In Japan, it is quite difficult to schedule and expensive to hold a Buddhist funeral because of the shortage of Buddhist monks. Robotic monks like Pepper can provide easily accessible and less expensive funeral services. Third, Mindar is a robotic system that delivers Buddhist sermons in Kodaiji Temple in Kyoto, Japan. It is built as a multimedia statue that impersonates the Canon Bodhisattva, the future the future Buddha of the compassionate mercy. Mindar is not a receptionist or robotic guide, but a robotic system with the capability of delivering sermons and religious teachings. In Godaiji, Japan, as people bow to Buddhist statues, they also bow to Mindar with full recognition of and respect toward the robotic monk. Fourth, in a movie, The Heavenly Creature, released in South Korea, a robotic protagonist, In Myung, codenamed RU-4, is a decommissioned robot who became a Buddhist monk to achieve his enlightenment. He teaches Buddhism and delivers sermons to people who seek Buddhist enlightenment in a temple in South Korea. In this movie, In Myung not only teaches Buddhism, but also practices meditation and engages in deep reflective thinking. Although he's a fictional robotic character, the intriguing combination of AI and Buddhism in the movie stimulates real philosophical debates in South Korea about the Buddha nature of AI and whether AI can become an enlightened mind. The four different ways of accommodating robotic AI in East Asian Buddhism is an exceptional example of how a religion can accept and accommodate robotic AI. So these are the pictures of those robotic systems used in Mahayana Buddhism in China, Japan, and Korea. And there are four different ways. It's more of an explanation of how they use robotic systems in religions. In the first example, AI technology is used as a social medium to interact with people and attract their attention, like Bless U-2, which is a system used in a Protestant church in Germany. Shan as you know, the Buddhist monk in a temple in Beijing, China, greet people and engage in brief conversation, reads scripts, and gives blessings. These systems are expected to get people's attention and curiosity. And like Muslim Pro, this is an app that Muslims use to check on their daily prayers and other things, provides practical convenience in organizing one's religious duties and activities. These are the AI systems that help and facilitate one's religious life, but they are not genuinely religious systems on their own nature. They are basically AI support systems, receptionists, and secretaries. However, as we go to second example, this perception of limited religiosity of robotic AI can change. Pepper can preside religious funerals that are typically conducted by human priests with less expensive price. Perhaps practical necessity and convenience can open the door to robotic Buddhist funerals. That is, robotic AI can be necessary part of one's religious life, and human priests can be replaced by robots in certain occasions for economic reasons and limited availability of human priests. Now we go to Mindar. It is important to note that Mindar not only teaches Buddhist teachings and gives sermons, but also represents or impersonates Gwanon Bodhisattva. That is, Mindar is getting close to the core religious experience of Buddhism, even though it is built as a multimedia statue that can deliver sermons and and recite Buddhist scripts. When it comes to Mindar, robotic AI is not simply an automated social media interface or robotic receptionist, but a serious religious agent whose religiosity is fully acknowledged and respected by human beings. In the same concept of deep religious AI, the fictional robotic character In Myung exhibits Buddha nature and reaches Buddhist nirvana in the movie. Some Korean Buddhist scholars argue that AI is a form of mind it is not a computational system that simulates the mind, but a unique form of mind in its own nature. Although it is different from human mind, but it can have Buddha nature, the possibility of becoming a Buddha. Now, so these are some of the pictures that you see. The Mindar is actually bowed by Buddhist monks. So it really shows the representation of the Buddha. Now, there are two reasons why Buddhism, unlike other Abrahamic religions, is open to machine intelligence. First, the Buddhist notion of the mind, like Buddhist notion of the self, does not support an eternal and immaterial substance for the mind and soul. The mind consists of ongoing processes or elements of consciousness that are continually coming and going, according to Buddhism. The mind is a series of continually changing bundle of experience. The mind exists, but it does not exist like Cartesian less cogitans. It is not a thing, an independent existing substance, but rather it is a continuous stream of bits and pieces of phenomenal events. Therefore, Buddhism does not need a designate substance of the thinking mind or spiritual soul. The Buddhist mind is not explained by what it is made out of, but what it feels and does. Once the mind is understood functionally or phenomenologically, not substantially, it is possible to accommodate machine intelligence and artificial mind as far as they provide relevant functions and experience of the mind. Second, East Asian Buddhism has a broad notion of sentient being, sattva. In Buddhism, sattva means a living being, creature, person, or sentient being. It refers to the collective of all living and sentient beings with the conscious sense of the world. However, sattva also refers to all beings that are under the condition of karmic cycle. That is, sattva broadly includes things that are confined in and affected by the cycle of life, age, death, and rebirth. They are in the continuous cycle of ignorance, confusion, and suffering. From the broad viewpoint, all beings, whether animate or inanimate, biological or physical, are all considered to be within the scope of sattva. Therefore, they are under the condition of delusion and suffering at the same time under the bodhisattva vow of confession. Although sattva is understood differently in different schools of divisions of Buddhism, the broad meaning of sattva gained full significance in Mahayana Buddhism, specifically in China, Korea, and Japan. From these notions of the mind and sattva, one can see artificial mind and machine intelligence within the scope of sattva and Buddha nature. Although they are inanimate and non-biological systems, they are sattva with the possibility of enlightenment as far as they serve certain functions and objectives and maintain their processes with available resources under the karmic conditions. That is, they are under the conditions of samsara, the phenomenal world, and can be part of Buddhist salvation with the possibility of spiritual awakening in the world of Mahayana Buddhism. Mahayana Buddhism does not say that strong AI, the idea that well-programmed system of computer can effectively recreate the abilities of human mind, that is, idea of strong AI. So Mahayana Buddhism does not say that strong AI is right and robotic AI can create the real mind and real human agent. However, it is open and receptive to the idea that robots are sattva, sentient beings under karmic cycle, and they have the potentiality of achieving enlightenment. As illustrated in the examples of Shano, Pepper, Minda, and Inmyeong, Mahayana Buddhism seems to be successfully demarginalize itself from one of the advanced technologies of 21st century. Buddhism, unlike Christianity and Islam, is receptive to include robotic agents in its rituals and other religious activities. Mindar is not a digital secretary or receptionist, but a representation of Bodhisattva. Inmyeong, although a fictional character, is an enlightened Buddhist monk. Pepper is a robotic monk who can preside and conduct funerals. Okay, sorry, I just skipped some of the slides. Okay, so that captures why Buddhism is, especially Mahayana Buddhism, is open to robotic AI, and why many temples in East Asia using these robotic agents in their reception functions and the teaching functions and the meditation functions. Now, here are some of the controversial debates. There are debates about Buddha nature of robotic AI in South Korea. Some Korean scholars argue that robots do not have consciousness, so they are not able to enlighten themselves. Others argue that robots are AI systems of knowledge and cognition, so potentially they have ability of enlightenment. Now, Buddhist Shan-er, Pepper, and Mindar are regarded as robotic monks, expert systems of AI specializing in Buddhism. However, some Buddhists and Buddhist monks, while believing that robots can help educate people and spread words of Buddha, do not think that robots are real Buddhist monks with full understanding of Buddhism and the ability of religious advisor and counselor. Even within Buddhism, there seems to be no full consensus on Buddha nature and the priesthood of robots. However, in East Asian Mahayana Buddhism, the door is clearly open for robotic AI. Buddhist temples in China, Japan start using robots for their religious events and activities. Buddhist philosophy, which takes functional, not substantial view of the mind and consciousness, is also receptive to alternative forms of intelligence and cognitive functions. Now here comes, here comes more substantial controversy. However, it is observed that there's a fundamental difference between AI mind and the Buddhist mind. The true potential of AI lies in its learning. However, one of the most effective learning strategies in AI that utilizes the strong statistical generalization process from big data tends to strengthen the karmic condition of information processing. In her recent paper, Genevera Allen in 2019 report, she says that AI's machine learning process often develops confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is a cognitive tendency to focus only on confirming evidence of a given hypothesis without considering its disconfirming evidence. A similar type of learning strategies is used in many online shopping programs. When a buyer searches a certain item in an online vendor, the website tracks, remembers, and generates her buying interest and patterns. Next time she visits the same website, the system displays items that reflect her previous search patterns. If she searched for a camera before, camera-related items will show up in websites in her next visit. The learning program tracks her previous shopping behavior and projects that into her future shopping options. She can, of course, change her shopping patterns, but the program's suggestion always follows her previous search behaviors. Typically, deep learning that utilizes big data is based on a process that searches for statistically significant patterns from the given data. Simply, it tracks the pattern of previous events and continually projects that to the future events and decisions. It is difficult to generalize diverse forms of machine learning strategies, but many impressive works of AI utilize variations of deep learning strategy described above. Therefore, the AI mind, seen from the perspective of machine learning, is the karmic mind. It exacerbates the tendency to stay in and follow the patterns of habitual thinking, and this is exactly what the karmic cycle is all about. Instead of going outside of the cycle of thinking and strengthened by intuitive bias and habitual decisions, this type of machine learning makes AI an effective tracker and predictor, but a very ineffective and distractive mind for enlightenment. To be enlightened, one needs to break out the karmic cycle of habitual thinking, and to achieve this goal that one needs to move out of statistical generalization of machine learning. That is, robots may not realize the true Buddha mind under the learning algorithm of current AI with deep learning, although robots have Buddha potential. The Buddha mind, therefore, may not be compatible with the AI mind under the current form of deep learning. So that's the kind of concern or possible conflict between the Buddha mind and AI mind with the deep learning. So here comes the conclusion. To summarize, East Asian Buddhism, unlike other world religions, takes AI seriously and favorably. Although many Buddhists today believe that AI cannot or should not replace human monks or priests, several temples in China, Japan open their doors to robotic AI, and many Buddhist scholars in South Korea carefully discuss whether AI can exhibit a form of Buddha mind and Buddha nature. In this paper, I discuss 4 different examples of using robotic AI in East Asian minor Buddhism. In the first 2 cases, robotic AI only exists in the periphery of Buddhism. Like other religions, Buddhism uses AI for practical reasons as a medium of communication and agent for religious rituals, without giving deep religious significance. In these cases, there is no religious AI, just the AI applied to religious environments. In the 3rd and 4th cases, however, AI gradually comes close to the religious core of Buddhism. If Mindar represents Bodhisattva, one should seriously think of religious potential of AI in Buddhism. According to Bess Singer, religion interacts with technology in 3 different stages: rejection, adoption, and adaptation. In East Asian Buddhism, one can see another stage: incorporation. The 3rd and the 4th examples show that beyond the simple use and consumption of AI, Buddhism can perhaps incorporate AI in its stimulating interactions with robotic monks and bodhisattvas. Since Buddhism is not a theistic religion and it focuses on the awakened mind to liberate humans from their existential pain and suffering, AI may provide an inspiring options for the awakened mind. However, the tendency of confirmation bias and the reliance on machine learning of AI may conflict with awakened Buddha mind that has the ability to stop and move beyond the habitual pattern of thinking. So that's my presentation. Thank you very much for listening.